Money Radio, thank you for joining us today as we talk real estate with Laura Bramnick from talkrealestateaz.com. That's the website, talkrealestateaz.com. Laura, good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sinclair.
Good to see you again.
It's good to be here.
Laura is an attorney specializing in real estate. You're also a real estate agent, licensed in Arizona, and you're a consumer advocate as well. I think that's very important.
Yes, and I like being a consumer advocate. Sometimes people need to feel like they have somebody on their side.
And since you're an attorney and a real estate agent, if you're working with somebody to buy or sell a property, you can also offer them legal advice, and many times that doesn't cost anything extra.
That's correct. Depends on the situation, but it's definitely good to call me and find out.
And you can call Laura at 480-624-2705. 480-624-2705. That's the phone number, and Laura answers her own phone. Find out more, talkrealestateaz.com. talkrealestateaz.com. Laura, I was hoping you could help me out with something.
Sure.
I got a notice in the mail recently, about a week ago. Property valuation on my home.
Yes.
And I'm trying to make some sense of it. I know it's not a bill, it's just a valuation.
Yeah, but it's supposed to tell you how your taxes are calculated, your real estate taxes.
Right, the bill's coming later.
Yeah, the bill's coming later. It's interesting because Arizona has kind of a unique system, and you actually get two values on that little postcard that you get.
Right.
One of the values, usually it's on the top, is the full cash value. So that indicates how much your home is worth. However, that's kind of a misnomer because the tax assessor purposely values your property 10 to 20% under the actual cash value in an effort to reduce the number of tax appeals that they receive.
Should I send a thank you note?
Maybe. So anyway, if the home value looks a little low to you, that's why.
And it did, actually, because I try and keep track of homes in my neighborhood.
Right.
And I can kind of compare my own home. It seemed as if it's low from what I've seen of some recent sales.
And so if for some reason you need to know the value of your home, you are going to sell it or refinance it, or it's part of an estate that you're valuing, it's much better to get either a comparative market analysis from a licensed realtor or an appraisal.
Okay.
Do not go by the full cash value on the statement from the assessor.
All right, but that's going to be lower. Why would the assessor want to give me a lower full cash value on my property taxes?
Yeah, just to cut down on the number of appeals. That's the main reason. I guess it takes too much time and money for them to deal with all the appeals. Also, if you feel that your value is still too high, you know, some people have unique properties. There's not that many comparables. If you feel that it's still too high, you have 60 days to appeal. And what you want to appeal is the number that they give you for the full cash value, not the actual tax that you pay.
Okay.
Okay. And this happens more often in commercial and, again, unique residential properties where there's not much to compare it to.
Okay. Now there was another number on that valuation form that was sent to me. What was that?
That's LPV, or limited property value. And that's the number that they use to calculate your taxes. So the number that they use is, it's actually interesting because one of the reasons that it sometimes doesn't show much of a relation to your full cash value is that your limited property value can only increase a maximum of 5% a year. So even in the early 2000s when property was going crazy,
Right.
and some people's property was 20, 30, even 40%, our taxes, the number that our taxes is based on could only go up 5%. So
there was a big lag there.
There was a big lag, so people were really getting some, like a tax bonus almost.
Yeah.
in those times. But what happens then is, as the market dropped, the LPV continued to catch up. So that's why you see many times that your cash value, your full cash value will go down, but your limited property value will go up because it hasn't caught up to the value yet.
Although I would imagine there are some properties from like 2006, 2007 that dropped so much that maybe they went down below the limited property value, and maybe there was a need to appeal that number because it had dropped so low.
Yes, and that did increase the number of appeals. It's just interesting that I guess in an ideal world, your full cash value and your limited property value will be equal.
Right.
You know, and that they will, in other words, that would really only occur if there's no change in the market value of your home, or if it never increases more than 5%.
Right.
And so that's why the numbers don't jive that well. And also, if you look at that number, let's say you get a number that says 3,600. I mean 36,000, I apologize. Then you take 10% of that, and that's your actual taxes. And then 50% of that is due by March 1st, late on May 1st. And the other 50% is due by October 1st, late on November 1st.
And you gotta pay those taxes.
And you gotta pay. Most people who have a mortgage, not all, but most people have it
It's built
included
in.
in their mortgage payment. So they don't really see a change until the end of the year when their escrow amount changes.
So they could expect possibly a slight change to the monthly payment. But then for people who don't have a mortgage,
Yes.
you do have to pay attention to it.
You definitely have to pay attention. And especially for renters, I had this happen to a client where the client lived out of state, had a rental property here, and didn't notify the assessor, didn't get notified of the taxes, and just didn't have it on his calendar, and he almost lost his property in a tax lien situation.
Oh,
So it's important to notify the assessor if you have rental property. It's actually the law.
right.
And it's important to know that when your taxes are due, especially if it's not part of your mortgage payment.
And we can complain about it, but in reality, Arizona has fairly low property taxes compared to many other states.
Yeah, I'm originally from New Jersey, and my taxes were about like 4 times what my
Really?
taxes are here. And it pays for different things, obviously, but
Sure.
it's a huge amount of money, especially if you're retired and you're on a fixed income, but you still want to stay in your home. Back east and in other large tax areas, it's a huge problem.
And they do have some special programs for people who are on fixed incomes like
Yes,
that as
and
well.
Arizona has a program as well.
Good information, Laura.
Thank you.
Laura Bramnick from TalkRealEstateAZ.com. If you have questions about real estate transactions or even about taxation issues, you can contact Laura at 480-624-2705. 480-624-2705. The website, TalkRealEstateAZ.com. TalkRealEstateAZ.com for Laura Bramnick. Thank you, Laura.
Thanks, Sinclair.